What up? How's it going, people? Yo, how's it going? Long time no see. Been off for a bit. Really need to get back to some regularly scheduled program. TVAR-S, how's it going? Great to have people here. We will get started soon, shortly. Have some stuff to do in the meantime. Let me take this a bit. Go engage with the tweet, please, so that people can know that I'm live. Wait, where did my tweet go? Live now, come hang. Also watching Ryan's stream, that's amazing. Should we just watch Ryan's streams in the meantime Anthony gets here? What do we want to do? Let's go to RedwoodJS and see what they have cooking up. We're doing Redwood today. Focus on building your startup, not fighting your framework. I kind of thought there was going to be a background image that didn't load. Is that the case? No? Okay, looks like there is no image. Okay, cool. Not my bad. Startups using Redwood have raised 52 million. Should I just use Redwood so that I can raise money with them? Damn. Oh, it's Dark Reader. That's my bad. That's my bad. There we go. Yep, that's much better. Much better. Yeah, I struggle with Dark Reader sometimes. Sometimes I really need it, like I miss it and I'll re-enable it, but the other times I'll get annoyed and I'll literally disable it. So it's yeah, it's funny having to deal with Dark Reader. We warmly welcome you to join our community, because going from side project to startup is hard and nobody should have to do it alone. Damn, I am inspired. I'll have to check this with Anthony. But I feel like the bigger reason people end up using Redwood is because of how much they support a business, not necessarily just the technology. And if that's the case, you know what? I might actually switch to Redwood for most of my projects. But yeah, let's see. We can do like, we can get started a little bit, I guess, before Anthony gets here. It's going to be like another 15-ish minutes or so. So yeah. Half the testing reference reads like a tutorial, half the logger reference reads like a how-to. Okay. Good. That's nice. Okay. It's good that they acknowledge this stuff. React, GraphQL, Prisma, TypeScript, Jest, and Storybook. I like most of these things in here. Quick start. Create Redwood app. Or wait, this was Yarn. Can I not do npm? Come on, I have to install Yarn to use Redwood. I guess why not at this point? Is there any reason I shouldn't have your Yarn? Maybe? Kind of? So dash TypeScript is an optional flag. Got it. I could go to through the tutorial. No, I'll just wait for Anthony. What's going on until then? Alright, give me 1 second. Got some work stuff. What's up, Scott? How's it going? What's up? Damn, I missed you when I came to St. Louis. We had a fun time. We should have joined. Was it just too far for you, or? I forgot what the issue was. Let's go back to this. Talking about the super lame framework about trees, right? About trees. Probably, yeah. This one right here. I do see a lot of trees, so I guess that's the one you're talking. This is the one you're talking about. 16k stars, not bad. Ready to hop on, Anthony? Or are you still busy? We've been waiting. Oh, you're ready to go. Okay, you messaged me. I'll just call. So, I was gonna do this on StreamYard, but then I just started the stream using OBS. So, now I don't want to stop it and restart it with StreamYard. So, we'll just do Discord for now. Let's see how this works. Let's use that. Oh, nope. Alright, we'll cut the music. How's it going? My camera seems to be not working with this, so we'll just have to stick to blue screen for now. Can you hear me? Oh, Anthony cannot hear me.
Hold on 1 second. I can hear you.
Okay, how about now? Can everyone on the stream hear Anthony?
Yo, I'm going through my actual mic right now, so mic check 1 2.
Same. I also had to disable one of my, or change the mic. There we go. There's our guy. Say hi to Anthony. Oh, I need to make this. There we go. We'll stick to this for now. Alright, no music, I guess, for now. since we're doing Redwood
That's funny.
stuff.
So on Discord, I can see myself, but there's just a blue screen behind me. I
Yeah.
can see everything on the Twitch, but then I'm like 5 seconds behind what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm using Droid Cam for this. It's enabled for OBS, but
It's exactly why I pay for StreamYard, and I think lots of people should.
Yeah. Now, even with StreamYard, this problem would still be there because this is an OBS mic, not mic.
Well, no, I'll say the problem me not being able to see what the heck's going on through the thing I'm actually going through.
I can still share my screen, I think. If I... Let me try to share my screen.
I'm not seeing you at all on
Yeah, that's
Discord.
that's my camera. Discord is not using my iPhone camera.
Yeah.
Because of the way Droid Cam works, it's very weird. Can I just share this entire thing? Go live. I'll just drop to 15.
Yeah, so do you see there's that blue square over my...
Yeah, I see it.
Like, so...
I don't have... Oh, I have a way to remove... Do I have a way to remove
can you get
it?
rid of that?
I don't know if I can. Let's see. Oh, show my camera. There we go.
Oh my god.
There. Show non-video participants. I'll get rid of everything. Yeah, I don't know if I can get rid of that. I don't think I can.
So I always laugh. People tell me you can't be a real streamer without OBS. Like, people are solving problems that you don't have if you don't use.
So you see my screen? Oh, perfect. In here?
Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah.
Cool. OBS virtual
I can
cam.
see myself twice right now, but that's okay.
Let's see. OBS virtual cam. I think I tried that. Does that work better? Show my camera. Nope. OBS virtual camera. I might need a different plugin for that, I think. So I'll just turn it off for now. Oh, okay. It got rid of my blue square from there. Perfect. I don't have chat on screen. Wait, I think I just need to do like that.
Honestly, if you want to do that, just pull it onto your screen with a window.
It is.
That's
it's right. It's right here. It's just on the
I'll
side.
say literally, like, open another one, open a second one,
Yeah.
and then actually put it on your screen.
Yeah, I need to figure out my stream setup for sure. Oops, where'd it go? Can I pin you to the pin this to the top? Oh, stay on top. There we go. Perfect. All right. I think we're ready to go. How's it going?
Yeah.
When is the podcast episode coming out?
Which one? Yeah. So we ended up not recording Colin's part, so I needed to do a little more editing with it, and it'll go out next week.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There's a podcast episode coming out apparently next week. I don't know how much you want me to talk about it.
Yeah. Feel free to say whatever you want about it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's a podcast episode with JavaScript Jam, and according to Scott, it's never going to come out, so that's also cool. When I launch our one-on-one on the couch, when are you gonna launch our one-to-one on the couch? I'll have to check with, like, I sent it to like James. He never got back to me about it. I'll have to talk to him, and I really want to like ship that. There's actually both of them, both the one I did with you and the one I did with Mark. They were both pretty interesting. But let's not talk about stuff that no one knows about. RedwoodJS. So I'm all yours.
Cool. Just finishing one thing. So I have a short little gist that I'm gonna post here, and that you can. This is basically what I'm gonna walk you through. So this way, I won't have to like speak the code to you. We can kind of just it doesn't really explain anything. It's just like chunks of code that we'll go through. But
do I have to install Yarn? Can I not do it without Yarn?
Well, if you literally don't have Yarn on your computer, no, I think you have to install Yarn, but it's not hard to install Yarn.
Got it. Yeah, I don't. Never used it.
Yeah, this is the only thing I use Yarn for now. Also, I think we made a bet on Yarn 3, and it worked out fine, but. Problem is no one else is gonna use it, so we're gonna be the only people using Yarn for probably the next 3 years.
That's funny.
I need to switch earbuds real quick.
Okay, no problem. We'll go through this real quick then. Create pages. So there seems to be a Redwood CLI, which we can use to generate pages, at least pages. Might be able to generate more stuff. I think there's models and things. That's the home page. Meta tags, header. Okay, no HTML. Meta tags does everything. About page and database migration. Oh, that's Prisma migration basically. Okay. And this is deployed on Railway. Angry Orchard.
So, is that a T? Yeah, so can you hear me still?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so Redwood is a full stack framework that uses React and GraphQL. And the idea is to kind of give you like a Ruby on Rails like experience. So you have everything in one application. You don't have like your API thing decoupled from your front end thing. It's all one project, but it is decoupled in the sense that you have an independent GraphQL server that's either being deployed into a server, like an actual server, or using a serverless function, kind of up to you. And then the React front end has like a way to speak to it directly and a way to do all this where you write very little GraphQL schema code, you write very little code at all, because so much of it gets kind of scaffolded out for you. So you end up, like what they always say, you want to be able to just write business logic. Like, you hear that all the time. It's almost never true. But this is one case where it actually really gets out of your way and lets you almost just write what is unique to your app and make sure your site has a functional front end, back end, pages, authentication. All of that is set up in a way where you don't write any lines of code. It's essentially guaranteed to work if you use the set of tools that are kind of the recommended path.
Nice. I'm definitely a big fan of tools that like you only have to write. Sorry about that. You only have to write your business logic.
Everyone says, and then it doesn't seem to necessarily pick the things that enable it.
Yeah. Now, whether the tool actually does allow you to write only business logic or not, that's up for debate most of the times. I know a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's I would say there's a learning curve to it, in the sense you have to understand like how it works.
Right.
But the reason why I say you write very little code to do anything with business logic is because I literally mean that in this example, we're going to have an entire blog with a front end and a back end and an admin UI where you can input them and edit and delete and all of that. And the way you get to that point, you don't have to actually write any code. You just you write a Prisma schema. So you start with this, as long as you have a Prisma schema written, you're able to create an entire CRUD dashboard that corresponds to that specific model without writing any code.
Prisma schema is code. It counts as code.
Yeah, that's why I'd say that's the only code you gotta write. You have to write the Prisma schema.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. All right, so what do I gotta do?
Start step one. Oh, actually, let me talk about the history, like at least for just a couple minutes, because I am referred to as the Redwood Bard by Peter, one of the creators of the framework, basically because I have the entire oral history of the framework in my head.
Nice.
And have now been a part of that history for longer than not, which is cool. The project's like 5 years old, and I've been part of it for like 3 years.
Nice.
So it was
Peter's
originally started by... You say it's a good name?
Peter's good with names.
Yeah, he is. This is funny, actually. Redwood went through 4 names. It was first called Der Spielplatz, which is German for playground. That was just kind of like the test bed of ideas. That was never really going to be the name. And then it was called Chainsaw, which they decided was too violent, I guess.
Yeah.
Or just like, too destructive, I think was the term Peter used. And then they wanted to use Hammer.js. And they wrote the first README when it was called Hammer.js, and they had a whole explanation for why it was called Hammer and why the name was so perfect for the framework, and then they had to change the name because there was another Hammer.js apparently.
Oh no.
So they called it RedwoodJS because Tom lives around the Redwoods in California, in the Bay Area, and so he went and then took the explanation, rewrote it, so now it was like, actually this is why Redwood is the perfect name for it, which is pretty funny.
I remember hearing that. Oh, by the way, the volume might be pretty low. I'm going to increase
my volume's low.
No, it's on my OBS, so
okay,
because I had it low because I was playing music, but then I forgot to increase it when you joined. Yeah, I remember hearing that somewhere. He might have mentioned it in some conference talk. He lives in around Redwoods, and that's why he named it. Okay, so that's the history of the name. What about the history of the framework?
Yeah, so the history of the framework is that Tom Preston Warner, who was the first CEO of GitHub, and then the creator of Toml and Semver, and he's just like generally. Oh, and I used to have these all like really clear in my head. And then Jekyll, he also created like the most important static site generator of all time. So I remember the first time when I was hearing about Redwood, and I saw that, and I saw his background, and I'm like, why does everyone talk about how like one dude is like the most accomplished person in tech? Like he built all this stuff. Like, isn't that incredible? And it's just like now, like if you're in the industry, like people know who Tom is, obviously. But it's just like I was just surprised that he wasn't like kind of seen as like a bigger deal. And there's a whole history about how he ended up leaving GitHub, and I think he got totally screwed. Honestly, I think that it was really bad what they did to him, and he's never really talked about it publicly. I don't think so. I don't really want to get into it, but Tom's incredible. Tom's like such a good dude and has like helped me so much and helped everyone in the Redwood project so much. So yeah, he's a really good dude.
Nice.
Anyway, him and Peter were working on a language learning app called Chatterbug, and they built a React front end that spoke to a GraphQL server that was running Ruby on Rails. So they had this kind of bespoke Ruby on Rails backend outputting GraphQL that then React would work with, and just like setting that up, they realized it was just a total nightmare. Like people talk about how hard GraphQL is now when you're using it in like JavaScript and it's like optimized for that. Like imagine doing it in like that kind of thing. So they basically saw how hard that was and decided to create a framework that would make that really easy in a way that was native to the current tool set that exists. So they kind of looked at, what is like the way to build this with all the current React kind of tech and the current GraphQL tech. And we eventually kind of migrated with the ecosystem. We used to use Apollo Server, and then we switched to GraphQL Yoga. We have been using regular React, but now we're working on React Server components. So we are, as far as I know, the only and still best way to do GraphQL and React with like a framework in a way that kind of doesn't require having to learn a whole bunch of GraphQL.
So other than Gatsby, you mean? I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, like Gatsby. Really. Yeah, it's not. Well, no one uses Gatsby anymore. So.
Well, my personal website still does. I need to move that to Astro. I've been saying that for months now.
Nice.
I got caught up in the Gatsby hype a bit. Yeah.
I mean, it was a perfectly fine choice at the time. It's just like the things changed. Now there's better things. It's like there was hype, 'cause at the time it was cool and it was unique and there wasn't things like it. But you weren't writing like a backend GraphQL. You had this kind of like content mesh thing, and then they would figure out how to make that actually map to like different backends and stuff. So this is you write your own schema, and you have a backend. You create that backend. So you create your own GraphQL backend, but they just make it incredibly easy to do that.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense that the someone who used Rails extensively would be able would think about building something like this.
Yeah, and then you have people like Rob Cameron. He was the third person they kind of brought in to help build it, and then David Price was to help build a community. And Rob Cameron is like 20, like he's been doing Rails for like 20 years. He's like one of those old, grizzled developers who will just be like, everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel a million times. You just do this the way we did it 10 years ago. What?
So DHH.
I mean, he's not. He definitely is not like DHH. Okay. But there's that same kind of mindset of, the front end space is always trying to reinvent the wheel, kind of deal. He was also the person who said that we should create our own auth, and then when we did, it ended up having a security bug in it. And I was like, and then they're like, had to like make this patch. And they're like, this you need to upgrade. There's a security vulnerability. You only have this vulnerability though if you're using the Redwood built-in auth instead of say Clerk. So I thought that was pretty funny. It shows why people who just say, "Oh, build everything yourself," sometimes are not actually giving you good advice.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, so it sounds like Redwood has like as a tool, it's or as an experience, it's been pretty consistent, and the underlying implementations have changed from Apollo to yoga and things like that.
Yeah, that's correct. The way you write the code. So like this tutorial I'm giving you is almost line for line exactly the same tutorial I went through in September 2020 when I first demoed Redwood live. And all that stuff changed in the meantime, and none of this code had to change. So Redwood itself treats your app code as sacred. It's something that should never ever break, even when we break the framework.
Damn. Okay, so very backwards compatible. That's
good to hear. And obviously, there will be times where if there's a small change and we think it's good enough reason, we may do it. There's, times where you had to add like one word to one line of code sometimes, and that was like when we needed to get from 1 to 2. So now as we continue getting further and further, that happening is less and less likely. So I feel even more confident saying that now, but in the past that's been the case. We're very good about not breaking your apps.
Cool. Let's see if that holds up with RSCs.
Yeah, it's gonna be the challenge, for sure.
All right.
We already have like a clear separation of front end and back end, though. So for us, continuing to enforce that will probably make it easier, because people who are getting confused are people who like write all their crap in one file and do all this ridiculous stuff and like never like just want the framework to figure it out for them. Whereas like we're always like, no, you have a front end, you have a back end. You need to know you can do things here and things here and things you can't do here and you can't do here. And that's what RSCs are saying. Now everyone's like flipping out because they have to think about places where you can't do stuff and can do stuff.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I'll probably have to watch like Ryan Carniato's stream today. I'll have to watch the stream at some point. I hate missing his streams, but Framework Friday's gotta happen. I mean, he hasn't streamed in 2 months.
Well, I was saying what you should do. What I was thinking is you should start this a little bit later and then try and catch a raid from him.
Yeah, I should do that. I already like kind of scheduled this one, so.
Yeah, that's fine. But that would be the thing to do.
Yeah, I could do a lot of things. I could just like stream more consistently.
That doesn't get you that Ryan Carniato bump.
It gets some other bumps. I can catch some other streams as well. Some other raids as well. Prime streams every day. I can probably catch his.
That's true.
But he's
I don't know. I don't know enough streamers with thousands of followers well enough to be able to do that.
Yeah, you do.
I don't really know. I don't actually. All the streamers I know get 50 to 100 people usually watching them.
I mean, same. Even the rate from them is enough for like the 4 viewers I have right now. Like I used to be like consistently at 10 or 15. I really need to get back into streaming and making YouTube videos. Anyways. Yeah,
but honestly, Theo is the only person I would say I actually like know well in the stream world. Like I don't know Prime. Prime doesn't know me. That's for sure.
That's fair. Yeah. You could go on his stream, talk about Redwood.
I would. I'd be down.
Yeah. He's not into React as much as we are, unfortunately.
Yep.
Okay, so what do I run? Okay, so, those are yarn.
So just run the first command that was in the gist. It's gonna generate your project, just your create.
I don't have yarn.
Project. Well then, install yarn. How do you install things on npm?
Do I really
They're like globals.
Do I really have to?
Yeah. You really have to. Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're using like Volta or something, I'd also specify.
I guess I did have it.
Yeah, so you should be good now.
1 second. That would take longer.
Yeah, you probably already had it.
Yeah. All right, so this is create Redwood app. Redwood
you should bump up your font a lot, by the way.
Are we building a blog?
So we are. So this is an important thing to call out: is that Redwood's not really like a great tool to use to build a blog. And if you're building a blog, I would not recommend you build Redwood with it. The point of the tutorial is to actually like teach you something, and so a blog is something that everyone understands and has lots of shared conventions, and so something that you don't have to think about the app itself because you want to learn how the framework works. That's why we use the blog as an example to teach people how Redwood works, but we're not saying you should build your blog with Redwood or that Redwood is good for blogs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So in that case, I guess we're following the tutorial, so we're building a blog today.
So bump up the font on the gist too.
On the gist too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's like super, super small, even more than that. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, where are you looking at the Discord or the? Yeah, you're looking at Discord.
I'm looking at both. Like, yeah, trust me.
Got it. How's this going? This could take a while.
Yeah,
So
that'll take a minute. So what it's doing is it's basically scaffolding out your whole project with a example Prisma schema and a home page, and basically everything's like ready to go, so that if you want to start doing more, you can either like run commands to generate stuff or just start writing code. So the way I usually walk people through this is basically the same way this tutorial does, and you start by creating extra page. So you have a home page already. Or actually, no, sorry, you don't have a home page. You start by creating the home page. They give you a kind of boilerplate thing. Before you create the page though, first you should show what you see before you create a page that has a kind of fallback. That's really nice. So just run yarn rwdev.
Do you want to install recommended extensions from Wix?
Don't do any of that. Don't install any of those extensions.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just really prop types. Haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, this is like
that's a lot of
Redwood was, like I said, Redwood was built in 2019.
Cool. So I'm running yarn yarn dev
RW. So RW is the alias for Redwood. So that's how you start all your commands. And then the dev script is just dev. The U script.
The U script.
Because you're dev.
The me script. Got it.
That's cool. Like, reminds me in The Simpsons, there's like Smokey the Bear thing where you press a button, it's like, who is supposed to be able to prevent forest fires? And he hits you, and it's like, you picked you, which is me. That is incorrect.
Very incorrect. Also, by the way, we got a raid from Ryan Solid. Damn.
Hey, what do you know? That's what I'm saying.
What's up? How's it going? We're looking at RedwoodJS.
Yeah, we are.
I thought you were gonna stream for longer. That was a decently quick stream
That's really the shortest stream he's probably ever done.
Could be, yeah. How's it going? Thank you very much for the raid. That's a pretty big raid. Honestly, even for this stream. I have Dark Reader on again, don't I? Alright, there we go. That's much better. So this is what it looks like. You're using this because you don't have any pages yet. Short stream for today. Got it. Okay, so this is how we generate a page.
Yeah, and that's basically similar to the next step I gave you in the gist, but it gives you a different name. You don't want to call it my page. You don't want to create an about page.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I was like, I probably would have done one of these on Solid Start already if I hadn't already used it. So, but I'm almost certainly going to use more Solid and Solid Start on stream. I'm really excited about Solid Start, honestly. Let's see what Redwood has though. Maybe we can take some inspiration from Redwood and
I've been hoping to do a Redwood stream on Ryan's stream. I've pitched him on it. He's down. I think he just has another time.
Got it. We're trying Solid Start and Astro and Dino. I don't know about that one. All right, so we have this running. What's the next step?
So keep that running, and then open another terminal and run that first command, which is going to generate your home page.
Open another terminal. Let's see what let's just generate the project first, because why not? So that's our home page. That already
with this command, so let me explain what this command is doing. So actually change Redwood to RW.
Yarn Redwood generate.
And then change generate to just the letter G. Actually, this will make it a little easier to see.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you can do both of those aliases. So there's different generate commands. So that's why after the G, you need to specify what you're generating. You might generate a page, you might generate a layout, you might generate like a GraphQL schema, but this time we're generating a page. We want that page to be called home, and we want it to go to our /route, because you can have a different name from what the route is going to be if you want, but I tend to keep them the same a lot of the time. So when we do about, we won't specify about, we'll just do about, and it'll be for both of them.
So you're saying I don't need to do this, I can just do this and it'll automatically become this.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. And it automatically adds the like trailing slash, or not trailing slash, preceding slash.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll show you the routing stuff in a second.
Cool. So
did you generate the home page? Or
is this not the home page?
No, you have to generate the home page.
Okay. But home page is generated for the /the root route.
Yeah.
Does it override this page then? Or what does
Run the command and find out.
Okay, let's go. All right. Let's do that.
And then go back and look at what changed.
So it did override it. Cool. Damn,
yep.
I like that page.
So make that a lot bigger for the text.
200%. Let's go with that. Let's try to find where it is.
Yeah, so you're going to have a website and an API side. So the website is the front end, the API side is all the GraphQL and Prisma stuff.
Okay.
And then in SRC, you'll have components, layouts. So close the API one for now.
Yeah.
And go to pages, and then homepage, and then the homepage. So you have 3 files because you also have a test. So you already have tests written. We are TDDing, and you have a storybook file if you're someone who wants to use storybook.
I would love to TDD, honestly. Let's TDD. The tutorial, I'm assuming, does not include TDD.
Yeah, it does. No, the tutorial actually includes, well, not TDD, it includes a whole section on testing.
A whole section, okay. Yeah.
Because Redwood actually cares about tests. That's why we write them for you, so you don't have to care about them.
That's great. But still, writing tests later is different from TDD, though. Just to be purist about it.
I'm a little loud, apparently, or you're quiet.
My mic is a bit loud compared to it. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'll turn your volume back up to full, and then...
I also talk more consistently at a volume.
I think you're too loud. Oh, my mic is a bit low. There we go.
Audio leveling alone is a good enough reason to make the case why people should not use OBS.
I mean, the audio leveling is... it's easier if I have feedback. I don't have feedback enabled. I'll just enable...
You shouldn't have to worry about it, though. You shouldn't have to think about it. No one else does.
Fair, yeah. Make a Rails-like experience for streaming. Don't give me the knobs. Could use a bit more. I'll just make it full. How about now? And I'll bring the mic closer to my mouth.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just gotta talk into your mic. That's gonna make a big difference.
And we can do a bit of ASMR. Cool. Let's see. What do we have? Generate page. Let's generate an about page that's automatically generated for the about route. Let's see what it does here. There we go. About page. And I like that.
Let me explain the routing file too. So there's a routes.tsx.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I kind of like you don't do file system routing.
That's great. Yeah, no, it was a very conscious decision that this was we wanted just a single routing file where you specify all the routes. Then you can have nested layouts. You can have all sorts of stuff. You can also choose to pre-render specific pages if you want to statically generate them by adding the pre-render prop to each route. So yeah, there's it's pretty simple in terms of conventions. Like you just look at it, usually kind of get a sense of what's happening. And yeah, so that's the thing that makes Redwood fairly unique, is that this is the way we do routing.
And this looks like React router under the hood?
Nope, we wrote our own router.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, nice.
Because they wanted to be like the Rails router, obviously.
Interesting. So, was there like something in existing routers you guys were unhappy about?
They weren't like the Rails router, obviously. I don't know. I have no idea why they didn't use React router. They just said it did things that they didn't like, that they wanted to be done differently, so they wrote their own.
That's fair. That's fair. Cool.
Which in hindsight is probably great. Like no one uses React router except Remix now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would accept that statement as a joke, but yeah.
No, it's a fact. Like they'll teach you in a boot camp, then you'll never use it again, and you'll have no idea what's going on during your boot camp. That's all it's good for.
I mean,
name me. Who do you know who's using React router in production by itself without Remix? Name me one person.
Me last year.
No, not you. I'm saying someone else.
No, like the project I was working on last year with a team of 5 people for the Supreme freaking Court.
That was a school project, though.
No, it's not a school project. School projects are... I've maybe done like 3 school projects. I don't do school projects. I do real projects.
So like, but what was the project for? Like, who paid you to do it?
The Supreme Court. That's what I'm saying.
The Supreme Court. So why'd you choose React Router?
Because of this. Right here.
Okay, so because of groupthink.
Yeah, exactly. It is still the most popular router that React has.
Okay, but I'm saying when you go to a company, you try and make that case that's not as easy to make. But like, yeah, you can say everyone uses React Router, so we should use React Router. But the fact is, everyone isn't using React Router.
Honestly, that's an easier.
Name another person who's not you who's using it.
Honestly, that's a pretty easy case to make with many companies that, hey, most people are using this is the most popular choice. That's why.
Right, but I'm saying it's not the most popular choice. I'm saying that NPM chart is a lie.
Okay, that's a whole different
so again, have you named me a single person who's not you who's using it? Name me one person, just one. That's all I'm asking. A single person.
Parasocial fix in chat. There we go.
So you can't name me a single person using it. You're saying it's popular.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
See, the circle I hang around with are like the Nextjs and Remix crowd. So
it doesn't matter. You know lots of people. You know a lot of people, and if it was a popular thing, you would know people who used it, because that's what popular means.
Do you want me to name my previous coworkers?
I mean, I get that. Yes, you used it on one project, and that's fine.
No,
if that's still the only example you can give, that just means no one's using it.
We had like 4 projects there that were using React, and all 4 of them are React Router.
Right, because all of you are making decisions by going to NPM charts and choosing which one to use.
Yeah, a lot of people do that apparently.
Yeah, and then a lot of people who realize how to make better decisions at some point in their life will stop doing that.
That's fair. I agree with that. That's for sure. All right, so you have your own router. That's what your homepage looks. Is that what my homepage looks like? Let's see. Let's go to the homepage. No. Oh, this is generated files. Okay, so I should not control click. Are these auto imported?
Or
like if I control click, I go to generated. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of Babel magic happening that lets you not have to worry about that.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I would prefer it if control clicking here sent me here, but okay, not too big of an issue. I'm not going to spend too much time in here anyways. Okay, so that's my homepage. That's a link that also comes from the router. There's the routes. And so you don't pass URLs in here. You pass references to routes.
So these are what are called named route functions. So this is if you want to like change stuff without. So if you want to change the actual URL route without having to change the code here, you can do that.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I wish more frameworks had.
And no one else can do that. And this is why, like, so this is the thing about if you choose to build something yourself and you actually have a good reason to do it, you end up with like some really nice dev experience sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, why is it better, Parasocial? I honestly, yeah.
I mean, I don't need to make the case why Redwood Router. I don't need to make the case why Redwood Router is better than React Router because no one would ever use Redwood Router by itself in the way React Router is used. The fact that React Router exists in its current form is what is wrong with it.
Fair, yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's nice. That's really nice. Okay, what's next here? Creating a database migration. So I should create a Prisma file.
You have a Prisma file.
Oh, I have a Prisma file. API db schema.prisma. I have, please remove the following example. Removed. Thank you. Could have just done that in the boilerplate. Okay. What are we adding here? Post. Model post. ID, title, body created at. I am not going to copy it. I want to do this by doing. And I can just do that.
I don't believe in doing. I only believe in don'ting.
Wait, what is that? Moving a Prisma 1 data model, which is based on the GraphQL syntax. The current Prisma language server doesn't support the syntax.
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that. That's what I thought. Okay. So I have an ID, title, body created at. Title, body. Nope. Created at. Cool. All right. I have.
You don't have to use Railway if you don't want to. If you have your own way of spinning up a Postgres database, you're welcome to use that.
Okay, so I do need to spin one up for.
So yes and no. Okay, so
server.
Technically you don't actually have to. You could do it with SQLite. I like to include this step because I think that most people are going to end up using a Postgres database anyway, and if you follow the whole tutorial using SQLite and then at the very end try and switch to Postgres, there's a couple of things that happen that are a little bit weird you have to handle. I think it makes more sense to go through the 5-second step of spinning up a database on Railway and just using that.
That makes sense, yeah. By the way, we have someone in the chat saying they're a big fan of Redwood, and the first thing they looked at after several projects in Meteor, Nest, and PHP days. I'm literally in the same boat. I did PHP, I did Nest, I did Meteor, and I think Redwood might be the next thing that I end up using in the.
So, yeah, this is super cool, and I can see the chat messages, by the way, for anyone who wants to tell me things. Meteor is the actual best precedent for the thing that came before Redwood that is most like it. And I think in many ways, if you wanted, if you were into Meteor, you're like, man, I wish Meteor stuck around. It got continue to get better.
That's literally what I think. Yeah, that's literally what I think. You should
use Redwood then, because Redwood is what that would have ended up being most likely.
Okay, cool. I guess GraphQL has the real-time layer, so because the biggest thing about Meteor was that it's fully like it's real-time out of the box and everything is.
Yeah, and there's like an asterisk next to that, which is like we are just now adding support for that technically because it's
really
in GraphQL, but no one ever does it.
That's fair, yeah. Most people, I guess, also like if you're all the time deploying to serverless functions, you don't have access to WebSockets.
I do think that's like almost across the finish line now, though, and that was like took us. We've been talking about streaming for like 2 years, so now is actually, if you are into that, we can now proudly say yes, you can do that.
Nice. Back to Meteor and Redwood. Yeah, honestly, like I discovered Redwood as the full stack framework like right around the time I was getting bored with Meteor and them not doing anything. It's just that I was pulled into single page applications after that, or like some weird stacks, whatever. Didn't get time to explore at that time.
This was good about streaming, is you can kind of learn all these, you at least get a sense of all of them, and you know, have to like kind of stick with, I only do this because I only do this, and it's like, well, you know, do some other things every now and
then. I don't have Railway CLI.
You don't need an account actually. You will need an account to use the CLI, but just go to dev.new.
Oh, dev.new.
Yeah, dev.new. This is also why Rails is incredible. You don't even need an account to do this.
I want to make sure I don't leak anything.
You can, because if you don't have an account, the database gets torn down anyway. After like a week or two. So just don't worry about exposing the key.
Okay, well, key's not here anyways. I think they also have it hidden.
It's in connect.
Somewhere. It's in connect.
Connect.
There we go. Raw pSQL.
Sorry, it's variables, I think.
Database URL. Copy. And I need to plug this in your database URL. My.env database URL is this right here, and I'll close it. Perfect. Didn't even have the whole thing on my screen. What else? So that was Railway. Don't need to do any of that. I can do the Prisma migrate now.
Yeah.
What's the yarn? RW Prisma migrate. Was there I need to supply a name.
I can just give it a name so it just runs the command, doesn't ask you for anything.
Validation error. The URL must start with
I skipped a step, sorry, because I forgot. I need to tell you to change the provider to PostgreSQL. Yeah.
Cool. To make sure we're actually using Postgres and not Railway. Environment variables loaded. How long does this take? Oh, it's running the Rust binary, isn't it?
10 to 20 seconds.
It's running the Rust engine, isn't it? I thought it was supposed to be fast.
That's funny. I mean, it's more so that you're reaching out to a database on the network, I would imagine. That's
fair. So do I have stuff in here now? Data.
You do not.
I have Prisma migrate.
So that set up your table.
I mean, that's all I wanted to see.
Yeah. So now I'll show you how to get the data into it. You could do it through the Railway dashboard, but we're going to do it through the Redwood auto-generated dashboard.
There's an auto-generated dashboard.
That's right, there is. So you know how, like, you'd have, I don't know if you ever use Rails, but in Rails, you'd have, or Django, there would be an admin dashboard where you can kind of like easily go look at the stuff and edit it.
I've definitely used that.
Yeah, so this is what that
Meteor
is.
had one. I guess like it didn't have it built in, but there were dev tools around. Yeah, the people that were working on the Meteor ecosystem were pretty great. There's so many great tools around Meteor. Anyways, I'll stop reminiscing. So that I just run a scaffold. What is that supposed to do? Scaffold files. Oh, so it. So my guess so far, looking at that and looking at so many green folders, is that it created a model, a component, it generated an API. How much stuff did that generate? That scaffold generate? I guess I just need to follow the next steps.
Yeah.
What's a cell?
So, great question. The cell. So this is really one of the things that makes Redwood super duper sweet. And other frameworks could do this, they just don't because they're lazy. A cell is a type of data fetching component that automatically handles error states, loading states, empty states, and success states. Always, and will never mess them up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. It completely changed the way I developed.
Okay, so looking at this, there is a... I don't know why import order is a thing. Wow. Oh, there should be an empty line after this, apparently.
So anyways. Alex from... What are you doing?
I was just looking at yeah. If I did that, ESLint was complaining that there needs to be an empty line, apparently. So
well, why do you need either? Delete both of those. Did those come when you generated it?
Yeah, this is generated code. This
is why. Yeah, I never used TypeScript with it, so.
You never used TypeScript with Redwood?
Nope, never.
Okay.
There's no need. Like, honestly, you get the typing already because it's fully typed to the database. You can write JS and you get the autocomplete and typing already.
That's fair. I still like TypeScript.
There's literally no reason to use TypeScript with Redwood, and people will anyway because they don't understand how these things work.
Yeah, I mean, we do need custom types at some point, though. I'm not like in for everything from source. I like to have some explicit types. I like to have some explicit types when I'm writing some functions.
Like, okay, wait. Yeah.
Like like not all data structures come from the database, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah, don't worry, Parasocial. We're not getting into that debate here. Okay, so this is what you're talking about, the cell. There's a loading, there's an empty state, a failure state, and a success state.
A cell is a thing for client-side data fetching. It doesn't make any sense. The question of does the cell handle backend stuff, it fundamentally makes no sense.
I mean, this is a part of it. Like, when I ran that generate cell, this is one of the things that was created.
And so let me explain also. So the way it actually works is there's the 4 different states it can be in, and then there's the query at the top. So the query at the top is the GraphQL query that you're sending to your GraphQL API. So this is where the front end actually connects to the back end, and this is the place where even if you run these commands, have everything generated for yourself, you do have to at least understand what a GraphQL query is. Right. Thankfully, it's literally the simplest thing you could ever be asked to learn is how to write a GraphQL query.
Yeah. Do I need some sort of a GraphQL VS Code plugin for this?
It's possible. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think what I would recommend, honestly, I recommend never writing your query in. If you're writing GraphQL and you're working with GraphQL queries, you should always start by just sending queries to your API using a GraphQL editor or even just curl, Okay. And then once you have your query for sure figured out, then bring it into your front end. And don't bother trying to write your query on your front end until you know the query
for sure,
works. You should make a hard separation there.
That makes sense. Yeah, that fully makes sense. All right, what next? Generated the cell.
So this is the cell now. Now we need to import this wherever we want to see it. So we want to see this on our home page. So we're going to have to import the articles cell. And you can see we're importing it and then just making it and putting it as just a component.
Okay, so homepage. Here I can say.
Okay, so again, parasocial. What you're asking doesn't make any sense. You're saying I was thinking if it has backend, it would be more like TRPC. TRPC took inspiration from cells and implemented themselves. They thought it was really cool. That was something we already could do, and TRPC couldn't do. It has nothing to do with the backend. It's a way to put a convention in that verifies whether your data has errored or not, and whether it's still in a loading state or not. That is something that cannot be done on the back end because there is no loading state until you've already queried it from the front end. So it's a front end mechanism, and you can do it in other frameworks. So now TRPC, if you copy Alex's huge boilerplate example where he wrote all the types for it, then you can do that. And you have this huge hunk of code you're just copy pasting around, which is what I did in my TRPC tutorial. But with this, it's about how do you actually handle it on the client side itself, because everyone always has to do that themselves. They have to figure out what to do when it's loading and figure out what to do when you get an error message. They have to handle their error message. It's like, what if you remove that step from the rest of your life?
Yep, it's very powerful for sure. Had to reload because I couldn't live with ESLint. All right, that's going to, where are my mod controls? I need my mod controls back. Show mod icons, there we go. Oops, because that is going to catch a timeout. All right, article cell. So we imported it.
I thought he was making a joke about what I was saying to Parasocial. I don't think he was trying to insult him.
Okay, that's fine. It's a quick timeout. So this imported from src components article cell. That's where I have this. Okay, but I don't have an index page here. So how much stuff does this generate? Yeah, this import went into the build stuff. So this import comes from the generated. Is that the case?
Sorry, what's the question?
So I imported this like it was mentioned in, why do I keep doing that? In the tutorial. Right here. src components.
Yeah, so you're asking how it's being exported?
Yeah, seems like it's
through the sheer magic of Peter's brain hiding it in the code base for us to never have to worry about it.
Oh my god.
It's some Babel thing.
All right, and why does this have... You go ahead.
Why does what have what?
This says there's no exported member types articles query.
Dude, don't ask
Is
me,
there
man.
some... Okay.
That wouldn't be in my project, so I can't tell you. That's a problem I wouldn't have to solve.
Okay, let's see. GraphQL posts. Okay, that's post.
I always find it so funny. People tell me how much time TypeScript saves, and they're asking all these questions about things they need to fix when they're using it. And I'm like, if you don't use TypeScript, you wouldn't have to do that.
Okay, so this is a TypeScript issue, not a GraphQL issue, or not a Redwood issue. You're saying that?
That's fair. No, I'm saying this is the thing about VS Code and TypeScript and how all that stuff works, and why would you ask a framework author to have to handle that for you?
I mean, okay, that's fine. Let's just go with this. Let's see if this runs. If it runs,
I mean,
that's
I'm sure
fine.
Someone on the team could figure out what that error is. I'm sure we can probably figure out a way to fix it. So, write an issue.
That's fair, yeah. Now, if this runs, that's fine. I'll put a tsignore in here. The only thing is that I trust TypeScript to tell me if things are going to run or not. So if it's like...
I know, and the fact that you can't do that should tell you something about TypeScript.
No, that tells me something about Redwood for sure.
No, but this happens in Svelte. This happens in Asho. This happens in lots of frameworks.
There we go.
Where you get it. So, hold on. Oh, sorry, we skipped a step.
Okay.
We did the scaffold. We didn't actually go to the UI yet.
That's
not a Redwood thing, okay? What's happening has nothing to do with the Redwood.
That's a user issue. Cool. Okay. So, in the articles, looks like this modified the query a bit. So, that's query articles query.
So that's not the problem. So, hold on.
Okay.
Just keep this just the way it is right now.
Okay. Just the way it is.
So, go back to your site and go to / posts.
/posts.
All right, and now create a blog post.
Cool. Let's create a blog post learning, or let's say struggling with RedwoodJS and body RedwoodJS. Cool. I've been writing too many blog posts recently. Okay, so there we have our first blog post.
And then go back to your homepage now.
And go back to my homepage now.
And you'll just see and refresh it.
And refresh it.
Try restarting. Oh, restart your dev server actually, because we changed the environment variable since we started.
I did. I reloaded my entire.
Oh, okay.
VS Code after that.
Oh,
I mean, it was.
Yeah, I know why. It is because I know why. So yeah, now go back and grab the piece of code where it aliases the articles to post correctly. It didn't used to be in this tutorial. It always throws me off. Not quite.
There.
There you go.
So I guess I don't need that. Now something is breaking. Oh, you needed that. Okay. Sure. I'm going to put a TS expect error for now. We'll revisit this at some point. So now if we go here, we see the post. Perfect. Great. Cool. So what did we just do here?
So what it's doing now is it's taking that GraphQL query and it's sending it to the server, and then go down to your success part of the cell.
What's wrong here? Oh, so now it... Never mind. Now it knows it's there. Now it's there. Perfect.
So there was never an issue at all. Thank God TypeScript saved us all that time. So look at success.
Yes. TypeScript saved so much time. Let's go. Okay, yeah, so you were saying
go down to where it goes success, and then see how it's basically then mapping over and just JSON.stringifying it. So the next step I have you do is actually create a component there.
Okay. Let's create a component. This is... Oh, this is what you're doing?
That right there, yeah. Yeah, just grab that whole success thing.
And return it from here. Let's call this article.
Dude, just copy paste all success.
I like at least writing some stuff on my own.
Why?
It's not everything.
That's where you write something that could be wrong. Like you
because I'm learning
steps that could add errors.
I guess this is this traditional React. I don't need to learn this. I can just copy this.
Like as a learning exercise, that is a legit reason. But it's just like, I don't know. I just find this whole obsession with writing code reminds me of like handwriting versus typing. It's like everyone's like, you gotta learn to handwrite because reasons, and it's like, no, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah. Cool. So I changed this, and now it looks like this. Can I add Tailwind to this already? Is that a part of the tutorial? I guess it doesn't need to be a tutorial. It's fine.
Adding Tailwind is just you yarn Redwood setup Tailwind or something like that.
Okay. Pretty nice. What's next? This is the home page. Our home page looks... We added the article cell in the home page. Cool.
So that's the whole thing I got right here up until the deployment step, unless you want to go through the testing and storybook stuff.
Yeah, definitely want to go through testing.
Great. Run yarn Redwood tests and your tests are done. And obviously all it does is just verify your component actually like works and doesn't break.
Right. I mean, that's what the original test does, right?
Yes. Yeah, the auto-generated test, yeah. So that's why I say kind of gives you TED out of the box. If you think of TED as make sure my component renders. Which I like. I think that's a pretty smart way to do it and pretty good way to split the difference between having to deal with a TDD kind of lifestyle and maybe just wanting like something that can kind of TDD for you.
So it uses this mock data as... What, the query data? Where does it use the mock data? I guess right here.
The mock data it uses in Storybook.
Oh, okay.
It might use it for the test as well. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I know it uses mock service worker under the hood.
Okay. Yeah, it's also using it for the test. So success articles, and I'm... or the test is piping in some stuff into there. Prisma schema validation. So something failed when I'm trying to run my test.
Interesting.
DB must start with PostgreSQL.
Oh, that's because, yeah, there's an extra step, I think, when you have to test with Prisma. It should tell you in there, I think. In there.
I can do this to make it easier. That's a little too much, I think. I
think I know what you need to do. Just go to your .env and
.env.
add test, and then basically make a second one, test database, but give it the same URL. Yeah.
Okay. So it uses the same database for testing.
Yeah, obviously you don't want to do that, but for this example, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
So it's using the database for the automated tests, not some sort of a mock.
Honestly, that's even better. That's what you want. You want to actually test with something that's going to resemble a thing that's going to run, in some sense.
Fair, yeah. But that does mean like maintaining a test database. And yeah, I mean, I would like to not have one.
Click the test database button on Railway.
Yeah, somewhere. Okay, so the tests pass. Let's make some
Railway
changes.
already has staging environments for you for your databases. It's super simple.
The day Redwood supports MongoDB, I switch.
We do. We support Prisma. Prisma supports MongoDB. I wrote a whole MongoDB tutorial.
Prisma is just not the greatest at it. The whole point of MongoDB is I shouldn't have to write a schema file.
Then use the MongoDB client directly. There's nothing stopping you.
That sucks.
So then what do you want? You want to use MongoDB but not have to write MongoDB? Then don't use MongoDB.
There's some. If I start to express what I want, it'll take it'll take a couple hours.
Well, what you want doesn't exist is the problem, so you need to build it yourself.
Yeah.
You can't just ask someone to build the thing you want that no one else wants.
That's the biggest problem. I have to try to build everything on my own because the things that I want don't exist, which sucks.
A lot of times you build the thing you thought you wanted, then you realize you didn't want it, and then you really feel dumb.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than not building the thing and living in regret.
Well, you wouldn't regret it. There's more regret if you build it and didn't want it than if you didn't build it and then never know.
Okay, that's fair. All right, renders a list of articles. Let's do expect. Let's give it some articles. What do you want? Type name post. Well, that's not gonna happen. So I'm just going to give you, what do you want? ID, title, body, created at. ID, 1, test article, body, created at. See, this is what TypeScript gives me. It can write my tests for me, at least.
Dude, ChatGPT would have written the test for me, and I wouldn't have to type anything.
I mean, it could have gotten some keys wrong. This way,
but would it have? What if it didn't?
It could have hallucinated.
How would you know? You gotta try.
So I want to...
You're saying, I'm not gonna use this thing because it might have done the wrong thing. I don't know if it would have, but it might have.
What is that? To include? How do I test if there is some text in here? Can I just write text? To have text content. There we go. What do you want here? Another? Oh, you want another bracket? There we go. Okay. So let's see if this test passes. Should say 6 tests now. Last time there were 5. Runs it from the top. So it doesn't only run the test that changed. It seems to run every test. Again.
I mean, that'll be down to whatever testing library we're using, which is probably the standards React testing library in Jest.
Okay. So it did not have text content test article. I guess this only works for very specific. I need to drill down to the title. You cannot just fuzzy match. Receive value must be a node. Okay, I haven't done much React testing, honestly. So I'm going to skip this part for now. I do need to get more into testing.
Do you, though?
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
I do.
Why?
It's great. It's fun. TDD is a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's different from need. You do something that's fun because you want to, not because you need to. If you need to, you have a reason. If it's fun, that means you want to do it.
I mean, it's also good. It ends up with really nice code.
Does it though?
Kind of. I mean, it definitely increases my confidence in that I can freely refactor things without worrying about if.
Right, but what happens when you refactor, but then your tests break because your tests were coupled to what was written?
That means I wrote bad tests. which means I need to get better at testing, which is why I'm saying I need to get into testing so I can get better at testing.
Yeah. Sorry, Stan. I don't know. I feel like there's ways to verify that your thing works that's not like using a testing library. Like, to me, I test my thing by doing the thing that I want it to do, and then I see if it does it.
Yeah, that's exactly what a test does, just a million times faster than I do. Wait, why am I scrolling up? Okay. Run storybook. Let's also run storybook while we're here, because why not? Yarn, Redwood, storybook.
Fair socials guy here, Dev. I like TDD, but I don't do tests.
I don't do React tests. I don't do TDD on the front end.
What do you test? When you're testing, what are you testing?
Honestly, I haven't written code in a long time. Like
then
that.
You just test, so you don't write tests then.
I mean I haven't worked on like a proper like for production software in a while now. So I've definitely been very much out of the loop for a few months now. So I don't do tests because I just don't write a lot of code these days. But TDD is definitely, like, in my opinion, it's definitely the best.
But even the times when you have been coding and you built whatever kind of projects you built in the last year or so, did you also write tests for those, or did you still not write tests for those also?
When I did, I was pretty happy, I would say that.
So when you did write tests?
Yeah, well, not all the times. I would have preferred to write tests more because we started the project without testing, without TDD. So it's really hard to like, it's really difficult to introduce testing into an existing project than it is to start from scratch. Yeah. So the times that I was writing new features from scratch.
So this is a huge point here in Redwood's favor, because Redwood is the only framework that will do that for you, that will set up your testing infrastructure and have baseline tests and give that to you. So at any point you decide you need tests, you will have at least something that you started with already.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And no other framework has that, and no one ever like talks about that.
Yeah, because front-end people don't like to talk about tests.
I mean, they talk about it more than never.
Yeah.
Epic Stack's not a framework. It's a template.
It's a meta framework.
No, it's like it's not a framework. He's never even called it a framework. No one has ever said React Stack. Epic Stack is a framework.
It's a stack the same way T3 Stack is a stack, I guess.
No, see, Create T3 app is a framework. Epic Stack is not a framework.
It's a CLI, not necessarily a framework.
What else do you need? Redwood's a CLI.
You also wire up a bunch of. I mean, I also.
Redwood's a CLI that does more stuff. Sure, like Redwood does more stuff. Create T3 app is also a CLI that does stuff for you. Redwood is a CLI that does stuff for you.
But you don't import Create T3 app.
You don't. What?
Like, you don't import Create T3 app. You import Redwood. You import from Redwood.
No, but you don't import the. Okay, so that's the Redwood client library, though. That's not the Redwood framework. Okay. Redwood itself is basically a CLI that does stuff for you, which involves using a client library that was written by the same team.
So would you say the Redwood framework is a combination of the client library and the CLI tool?
Along with other things, yes.
Okay, so what are some other things? What are these other things?
So the main thing is the auth library, then it also gives you, because there's a specific Redwood auth library as well, and then there's an API library. So there's a library for the front end, a library for the back end, a library for auth, then the CLI that generates projects that uses all those libraries. Okay.
So I heard everything except for the auth part. All right.
And most of that stuff is in Create T3 app. Create T3 app gives you all that too. They just didn't. The team also did not build the client and server libraries and auth libraries.
Got it. Cool. Okay, Storybook. I guess we are not really at a point where we can take advantage of Storybook yet. Oh, it has zooms. Okay. I've also never used Storybook. Maybe you need to look into that at some point. All right. So I guess, is that the end of the tutorial? Deploy. Not really doing that right now. So what more can we do? I want to see more.
Deploy it. We gotta deploy it. It's not even a website yet.
I do gotta deploy it? Do I really have to?
We gotta deploy it. Of course we gotta deploy it. There's a deploy step. You always deploy it.
Okay. Let's do that then.
If you haven't deployed it, you haven't built anything.
So that's why
I fully believe that. I've never once written a tutorial that did not end with a deploy step. If your thing does not deploy, it does not exist.
Okay, got it. Set up deploy Vercel. So we did that. What did that do in here? Oh, it created redwood.toml. Of course, it's a .toml. Kind of wish more frameworks were using toml files. It's not too bad.
That's a take I've never heard before. Tom would be so happy to hear that. You're the first person to ever say something nice about toml.
Really? Is toml that universally hated? Why?
I don't understand why. I think toml's fine. And
yeah,
it's just people trying
to
write ridiculously complex code in these like small languages that were not meant to do the thing they're trying to do in them, so then they like get all butthurt about it.
Okay, I just need to push and stuff.
Well, do you have the GitHub CLI? It's awesome.
I think so. I do not, apparently. I had it in my work MacBook last year.
Dude, you should start using it. And
I used it quite a bit.
Just copy paste that command I gave you. That's the push everything command. It both generates the repo and pushes it for you and gives you a description. You can do it all in a single CLI command. It's so epic.
I had a bunch of those commands aliased, and I used them quite frequently. I had one that stashes whatever I have right now and pulls everything, or I like switches to a different branch, and then I had a bunch of different combinations. It's pretty interesting to play with GitHub CLI, but this one I don't have it right in here. Don't use it too often, so I'll just do git commit m tutorial, and I'll just do gp. Oh nope, nothing is defined because I need to create a repo. So the other thing I can do is, I guess every time I move you, I have to resize you because of the tiling. But the other thing I can do is I can just do publish branch. I guess I have to move you again, but it'll create a repo, and I'll just do that from here. So this is like one of the reasons why I didn't have to use GitHub CLI in the recently. Cool. So that's our repo. Does it automatically deploys to Vercel?
So then you have to basically just link the repo to Vercel. You just do it through the Vercel dashboard. Yeah.
Or I can just do this.
There's a way to do it with the CLI, but it's easier to just do it with the dashboard. You can do whatever you want. If you want to try it through the CLI, go for it. But if it breaks, I can't help you.
Okay. Link to an existing
I use the Vercel CLI too, so I would assume it's gonna work. We'll see.
Yeah, it should probably detect that this was a Redwood.
You gotta give it the environment variable though.
Yep,
somehow.
right there.
Yeah.
It should automatically pick that up from .env.
Really? Yeah. Why is there an env flag for Vercel CLI then?
Probably like
before they handled it for you.
Yeah, before they started doing it automatically. Which settings would you like to overwrite? None.
Well, that's good. I can remove something from the create T3 app docs. Then there's a step where I have that Vercel command that says you gotta use that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does that, although
We're about to find out.
Yeah, time to find out. I mean, we can find out right now. I'll go to Vercel dashboard. Thanks for the follow, Nando1x1. Damn, first follow in this entire stream. No production deployments. Cool. There's one deployment.
It's still building.
If we
it takes a little while to build.
Yeah. If we go to environment files, environment variables. Okay, so it did not.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. Yeah.
I remember it doing that for me automatically, but I guess it doesn't do that anymore.
Maybe you imagined it.
Yeah, at least I can copy paste into it. There's still like, I wish I could copy paste and I would override other variables. Like it's like with these kind of settings, it's hard to keep a single source of truth because it's always in multiple places. All right, so while it's building, what does React Server components in Redwood look like?
Like a whole lot of pain for a whole lot of people for a whole long time for something that may or may not have any benefit, but we're doing it anyway, god damn it, because you people won't shut up about it. And I honestly think that is probably the right move in the long run,
Okay.
It's still in the works right now. I mean, honestly, we have absolutely nothing right now that we can show for
That's
beyond
fair.
like some Notion docs with a whole bunch of links and things that we need to do to make it work. So, not a super great place. I am thinking about kind of taking it on as like a personal project myself because no one else on the team is going to do it, and I feel like that would be useful and so that would allow me to kind of get back into development with the framework also. So yeah, it's just like if you want to get involved, I can send you like for people if people are watching right now and actually want to help with this, then we would love help because this is incredibly complicated and there's really not that many people who are doing full-time development on the framework, even though there are a handful who Tom is funding. There's some Notion docs we've got where we're kind of like coordinating the development. So
the ones that you linked on Twitter?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. So we want to create like a proof of concept. That's like the first thing we're working on. And then research. So Parasol's just saying, what is the main challenge? The main challenge is that to do this at all requires being an expert in Redwood and an expert in React server components, and that person does not exist at all. So either someone on Redwood has to spend a couple months learning how React server components works and make Redwood work with it, or someone who knows React server components has to spend a couple months to learn Redwood to learn how to make it work. So either way, you can't point to a main challenge. The challenge is that you have to rewrite the entire framework to do this.
Yeah. I think even beyond, what's up, Darren? I think even beyond just implementing it, like the bigger question I have is that what does the API look like? Like how exactly do server components
Nothing will change
fit into
for you. The person who writes Redwood code will have no idea anything changed.
See, I don't think it's possible to do that with server components.
Okay, that's their claim to fame then. If we can make that happen, which I know we can, then we can say that we did it. And then finally people can say that, all right, we did something other people can't do. Because that's the thing, is that it is entirely possible. Of course it's possible. It's code. It's Turing complete. There's nothing that's impossible in code.
I mean, it's possible, but like I'm looking at these components.
It's hard. And it's just hard. It's not impossible. Nothing's impossible.
No, I mean, the point is that it's a very different paradigm. Like, so what?
Yeah, exactly. So the framework has to figure out when you want things to be in one place versus the other. So honestly, it doesn't change. It won't. If you already know how Redwood works, React server components won't change the way you write Redwood code. It won't at all. And that's the whole point of writing Redwood, to have the clear front end separation in the back, to have conventions, so that you can just write it and have it work the way you expect it to. And then when the whole ecosystem breaks, that's up to the framework authors to fix, not you.
So you in this case is a person who's using Redwood, or the person who is writing Redwood?
The person who's using Redwood. The people who are writing the Redwood framework themselves need to spend years figuring out how to make this happen, so they gotta do a lot.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is the next team decided to split the difference and say, we're going to do most of it, and then make the users have to think about some of it, and now everyone's mad. Because they didn't do it all themselves.
True, yeah.
Because they could have, they just didn't. They chose to make trade-offs and have things that people on the user side would need to know to make it work, when they could have spent more time to not do that. There's no fundamental reason why they had to make it that way.
True. Oh, I also just saw that this entire route set was generated for posts. That's cool. Yeah, definitely helps in a lot of ways, and the Vercel build is breaking, so I'll have to do it from the dashboard, like you said.
So it's saying it's a different architecture. This argument breaks when you learn about use client and use server existing. Yeah, so use client and use server, you would never write those in a Redwood app.
Do you think that it's like having to write use client, use server is a problem?
Well, it's a thing that should be in the framework side. So we'll have to write that somewhere in the Redwood code to figure out what to do. Oh, wow. Yeah, so he's like, apparently your core team will have to be 10x better than Nextjs team because they completely changed their core API due to RSC, and it really affected everyone who uses the framework. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for the next team and say they made a bad decision. I know that it was a hard decision to make, I'm sure, and that if they wanted to write it in a way that would have been transparent to next users, it might take them an extra year. So it's a question of like, would it have been worth it for them to take an extra year to ship it if it was going to not break anyone's code? It's hard to say what you should really do in that situation. So I'm sympathetic to the next team being stuck in that dilemma. So, but the Redwood team, we're taking the tack that your app cannot break when we upgrade to React Server components. That is a core, that is like a fundamental part of how we are doing this. And if we end up finding out it has to break in one certain way for a certain reason, that might be the case, and they'll clearly document and tell you what you have to do, and it'll be something so simple it'll take you 5 minutes. Yeah. You'll not have to rewrite your entire app. If you have to rewrite your entire app, we failed, and we would not ship that. We would not do that.
I think the other problem with Nextjs was that they also realized that the Nextjs patterns were not super useful, or they were useful, but they could have done better. And it's not just that implementing RSCs caused them to create a whole new pattern to write Nextjs. It also that it made them realize that there is a better way to write Nextjs using server components. For example, Theo has done many videos on this, on how get server side props and how the typing doesn't quite make sense, and Nextjs is basically used as a single page app hosting site, as a project where you can put both server and client code. That's really just it.
Yeah. But yeah, so question, can I use Clerk React Server components in Red? Is what Parasocial Fix asking. I'm not sure what Clerk React Server components even means, or if even the Clerk team would say that's a thing that exists. You're on the Clerk team, so what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't think Clerk React Server components are a thing. All of our embedded components are client components.
You're asking a question that fundamentally doesn't even make sense. So first, Redwood has been using Clerk for a long time, so we have very good Clerk support. There's no such thing as supporting Clerk React Server components.
Interesting. Command failed with exit code something. Command failed with the Redwood Prisma migrate deploy. Data migrate up. Some issue with data migration, I guess. Even though I have all the correct environment variables this time, I don't see anything else in here. So we're going to skip the deployment for now. Can we skip the deployment for now?
Hold on. What? Sorry, let me see the error message.
So it failed apparently at.
Well, show me the whole build output.
So you want to expand?
Yeah.
Okay. Database schema is not empty. Oh, it's trying to run a migration on an empty database.
Yeah. So this happened to me before. We can fix this if you wipe your Railway database and do it again. It's up to you whether we should do that. I think I always like having an actual thing that actually works at the end, just to this is important. So all you have to do is just wipe it.
Actually, I don't know how to access my Postgres database anymore. It's not here. This just creates a new. I guess there we go. It creates a new Postgres database. Okay, so, let's go with that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So while you're doing this, there's an interesting question here in the chat. So someone's saying how you can have an opt-in design to where you need to opt into React Server components, and that's likely what Redwood's going to do. But when I say opt-in, I don't mean that you need to opt in by rewriting your code. I mean opt in by setting the opt-in parameter in there's a single Redwood configuration file where sometimes when we have experimental features or whatever, you can opt into. So it'll be like you'll write React Server components true or something like that, and that means you'll turn it on. The reason why you want to do that is because if there is something that is going to be weird about it that you need to be aware of, then you can kind of separate those two environments. That's kind of this is because ultimately it's probably not going to be possible to make it everyone to be able to migrate with everyone not having to rewrite a single line of code. What happens is you end up with a small percentage of people who need to write a small percentage of code and a small percentage of apps. So you make it opt-in so that case does not break. So you save the edge cases from breaking and you make it opt-in. But ultimately, most people, that's not going to be an issue for. This is for handling those specific edge cases.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that makes sense to who's ever asking that in the crowd. So these are really good questions, though.
I'd be more interested in seeing how it plays with GraphQL, because React Server components are supposed to be their own, like you fetch data directly in a component instead of outside in a GraphQL layer somehow. So that'll be the more interesting part.
Let's see, that's the question that no one is ever going to answer that question except Redwood. No one's even going to ask that question except Redwood, or even attempt a solution to that question except Redwood.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, like, we're your guys. You got no one else.
RCs will become the new
RCs will become the new, yeah.
Best
I'm gonna
friends
use the
forever.
bathroom real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be back just in like a couple minutes.
It's deploying. Cool. So, oh, there we go. It deployed. Let's visit this. There we go. It's empty right now. Let's go to /posts, and we can create a new post here. Hello world, and we can save it. There we go. Can I open this post? If I go to post ID 1, what happens? There we go. We see post details, and I can edit them. I can delete it. Cool. So this is not like an admin panel. It's more like a fully generated CRUD UI for everything. I think this can definitely see this being super useful, but requiring like a lot of modifications for any real applications. And I'll be curious to see if most people who use Redwood, like, do they end up customizing a lot of this, or do they end up like sticking to the same thing? How hard is it to customize? If we just go to, let's say, components, articles cell. So I guess this is not it.
What are you trying to customize?
So I was wondering, there we go. So the UI, the pre-generated UI, I'm wondering like how many people who use Redwood end up like either completely removing them or heavily customizing them, or just sticking to the same thing.
What would you want to customize?
I don't know, like if like this thing can get pretty complicated. Like, does this I'm assuming this doesn't automatically do like includes or like relationships. Like if I have a post.
No, Prisma handles relationships.
I'm saying the UI. Like, is there going to be an author field in here that's going to have my data, or like link to a /user/ my user ID or something like that?
I have never scaffolded it with a Prisma relation to see what would happen. I'm very curious now to see what would. It should at least give you an input field to edit and do the CRUD thing. I'd be extremely surprised if it did not, and if so, then our scaffolds are broken right now for relations. There's no reason why it shouldn't. You shouldn't have to customize the functionality. You can customize the look, sure, but I think most people won't because it's not an externally facing thing. But there's a point in this tutorial where they add a comment, an article comment. We should use that because then we'll ensure we're, at least if it doesn't work, it's not because we wrote code that didn't work. So let me grab that real quick.
Is that a different tutorial?
It's not in my gist, but it's in the Redwood tutorial. So you can just go to redwoodjs.com and check out the docs. They're going to be in the tutorial.
Reminds of Rails admin panel stuff. Yes, because the creator of Redwood, or one of the creators of Redwood, is a heavy Rails user.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff. So apparently this is not. So someone asked me if this is like the Redwood Studio. So there is an idea called the Redwood Studio, which is it gives you a whole bunch of other stuff. So this is like brand new, and I haven't even used it yet. And I don't think it's even done yet, but something to check out. So it gives you kind of like also logging and things like that. So that's gonna be like super, super sweet. You should watch. How long is that video? Okay, it's 10 minutes. Yeah, let's not watch that. Yeah.
Interesting. So this is not just Prisma Data Studio.
No, this would be for your Redwood app entirely, not just your database. If you want to use a Prisma Studio, you just use Prisma Studio. Like, we give you Prisma, so Prisma Studio is
so this is like a place to like monitor the production server, something like that.
I think the idea is to test it in dev like it was a production server running in a production environment.
Okay, let's see if I can scrub through this a bit. Your dev companion, this looks pretty good. I think a lot of people are doing some interesting stuff with dev tools. Nest just released their own.
So this is a command line tool. Yeah, so it's definitely local. It's not for deployment.
Looks like it has SQL queries, open telemetry traces.
Really interesting. Yeah, and like I said, this was just announced a couple months ago, but it looks pretty cool.
Okay.
And it says you can use it now. I guess in beta, but there you go.
That's very exciting. Nextjs Dev tools are insane too. Yeah, I'll check that out on my next Framework Friday. I did one on Next already, but I might like revisit some of these frameworks at some point. I definitely want to revisit Next and Laravel, and I might just do like other frameworks that I've already done before.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I have this series of posts I call like a first look at X, and it's just like I just pick, kind of like we were doing with these streams. I just pick a thing and then I write a blog post about it, and then it doesn't make you an expert in it, but at least gives you a sense like what all these things are and why you should use one together.
Okay, so I want to create a new migration because I just added tags in here. What's the Prisma migrate? Migrate dev name tags. Or do I need to run Prisma generate first? Oh no, dev automatically looks at the schema file, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
It does. We need to reset the public schema at this. Sure. Unless it like unless Railway tore down my database in the meantime.
No, it didn't.
Cool. Database is now in sync with my schema. So I can now create a new cell. Redwood. Okay, I'll just type it out. Yarn Redwood generate cell, right? And I can call this tags. Wait, no, it's not cell. Scaffold.
Yeah, you want a scaffold.
Scaffold. What was it? Tag.
The fact that you're already just writing commands on the fly, though, shows how simple and easy it is to pick up the CLI and start working with it. So that's one of the arguments people make against using something like this. They're like, oh, well, it has all these opinions I gotta learn. It takes time, like, getting the conventions. It's just like, well, what if it actually just took you 2 hours to learn? Like, what then? Would you do it?
I mean, it wasn't even 2 hours, really. So
well, you're lucky because you had the premier Redwood education expert in the world and helping you.
True, yeah.
But most people would not be able to pick up everything that quickly. They would have to actually go through the tutorial and read the docs and kind of put the pieces together themselves. So, but that's why I say just watch a video of me explaining it to someone, then you'll get the same thing.
Or watch the stream again. I just watched the stream at some point. But I've also like used a bunch of other tools that do like similar like
the more framework you learn, the faster you'll be able to learn them.
So no tags. Let's create one JavaScript in brackets FUD. Okay. So no posts in here, but if I go to posts, do I see it in there? No posts. Let's Redwood. And I don't see anything for tags in here. Yeah. Okay. So
now I know. Hold on. There's an entire docs page for this. I was like pretty sure this has come up. I've heard people talk about this before. And now I know why. Here you go.
Schema relations. All right. Many-to-many relations.
This will explain how to do it.
CRUD requires an ID. Currently requires okay, that makes sense. So if I go to schema, Do I have an ID somewhere?
Another
I have tag ID.
Great point in Redwood's favor. The times you do hit things that may be a little complicated or edge casey, we have lots of well-written docs that are very thorough.
Wait, the tags, this has an ID, this has an ID. Okay. Many-to-many create table without a single field. Mark with an ID attribute. Oh, it uses at ID, but this is for many-to-many. So like tags, products on tags, and so this like a product can have many tags, and here a project can only have one tag. So this page doesn't fully apply. Yeah, this is specifically for many-to-many relations.
Okay, let me see. So we want to find something with the scaffold command is what you're trying to figure out how to do, basically. Scaffold, here we go. This is a community post, which may or may not actually solve it, but it's really, really old.
Generate a new, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, don't read that one. Read this other one.
Okay. This other
we
one.
have fairly...
This is like all of these
any
bookmarks?
open source... Like any open source, no. See, this is what I was about to say. Like any open source project, there's all this like legacy stuff and discussions and things. But we made sure to put this all on the forums from the beginning with good SEO, so you could always Google and find these things in 10 seconds.
Got it. Prisma. Okay, this is also very old. No, the
if it's saying we had support for it back then, though, we should have support for it.
Scaffold. Probably can send scaffold post, but when you run dev and try to create a no post, you'll get an error. I don't get an error. Looking at the service file Redwood generated, here's what the mutation looks like.
First, something I should point out is that I think a lot of this is going to be from the perspective that you started with both of them written, both schemas written with the relations in there, and then run the scaffold command. Whereas you did the scaffold command twice, which I would not. That's like, if you don't know they're going to be there in the second one, how would you know in the first to be able to account for that in this? So I think the way we did this fundamentally should not work for anyone, because it's kind of absurd to think it would.
I mean, yeah, I don't expect the first one to change. Yeah, I don't expect the first one to change, but I run scaffold after changing this. So like the post model, yeah, I'm not expecting that to change, but I added the model and then I ran scaffold, and this has the relation in it. I ran it for this. That's fine. That's not a big deal right now. But all I'm saying is that, like, there would probably be requirements to like update, to like customize this, maybe add custom actions, maybe only show subset of data.
What's a custom action?
Like maybe like let's say this is to-dos, so instead of show, edit, delete, you would want a complete to-do button. So just like something like that. Like that's the most basic example.
We can't account for every single thing anyone could ever want to do in their app.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying is that...
But yes, people eventually have to find things to customize if they want to turn this into an actual, like, admin dashboard that does everything that, like, an admin dashboard can do that is built as an admin dashboard. Yeah, so it's like a question of, like, what do you want to do with it and why, you know?
No, yeah, what I'm wondering is that, do most people, like, customize this generated UI, or do they, like, just create their own from scratch?
I'm not sure. I don't know how much people running Redwood in production use scaffolds at all, you know. I think part of it is that we want this thing to be something where you could like build fast also and stably. Yeah. So in that sense, like being able to have something like that that just like, you know, works is really useful, especially if you're like we're building with no money and stuff like that. So, you know, that's kind of one of the things that's really aiming for, but it can be customized at a certain point, but like we can't anticipate all the ways that could kind of happen. So at a certain point, we have to say we're going to give you up to this point, and after that, you have to figure out things yourself. So like we want to give you as much capability as possible, but like at a certain point, you know, the space of things you can do is infinite.
Yeah, and I'm definitely like I wasn't asking if like they customize it at all. I'm sure like they do. It was mostly like, do they like? Is it more helpful in general to customize or to just create from scratch? I guess that really depends on the use case. That cannot be answered in general.
Yeah, I think the scaffolds are good for doing basic CRUD functionality with your backend. Like that's That's what it's for. That's what it's always going to be for. And like that's good, I think. And that's kind of like that's like the point. So that's why once you get into a large scale production app, scaffolds don't become as necessary because your data model hopefully should be fairly stable. And if you have to like rewrite your whole backend and rewrite your whole scaffolds, like that could be a whole huge thing. But for the most part, like you're using the scaffolds when you're prototyping, when you're getting set up, when you're learning how the thing works.
Yeah.
And it's useful in that step.
For sure. Cool. So should we add some API endpoints then?
Oh,
do you have time
for what? What do you mean? Add an API? Well, what would be the API endpoint for? Like we have a GraphQL server, so like, what do you want to do?
I don't know. So do the API endpoints go into GraphQL as like custom mutations queries or something?
So right now your whole backend is a single serverless function shoved into a GraphQL handler. There are no other API routes.
Right.
You can create a custom one if you want to do a bespoke thing you can't do through your GraphQL schema. I would recommend against not doing that unless you absolutely have to, though.
So does everything just happen on the front end directly on the GraphQL schema? Like if I want any custom backend logic, where does that go? Like okay,
so you can write Prisma logic. You have Prisma queries.
Okay. Let's come up with something. We have a post here. Let's do an like when you create a new post, it has to be approved before it's shown here. So maybe in the article cell, I want to make sure that this only fetches the approved posts. Let me first add it to the data model, Prisma, and let's say approved. There, default is false. And I'm just going to run the migration again. Post approval. And that's going to take a while. But in the meantime, so now that I have this, where do I add the query to only get the approved posts? In here? Somewhere? I don't know GraphQL
Well,
enough.
so you could do it. It depends. You say you want, like, you can do it on the front end or the back end. You could filter it in the Prisma query, or you could filter it in the GraphQL query. I mean, I would usually
Show me both ways.
So let's do it on the client because that's the way I'll know how to do it. So add it. So in your articles query, make sure you got a query for that also as well.
Where do I add it exactly? I don't know too much.
In the query, so where it says ID, title, body, created at, after created at, add another line.
Oh, approved in here. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then you'll have to like write some if then logic, say if it's approved, show it, if it's not, don't, something like that.
Oh, so you mean in here?
Like in the success.
Oh, I mean, yeah, in the success. Okay. So I do a filter in here.
Right, yeah.
Okay. But I want to do it on the back end. Like I don't want
unapproved articles. So then you do it in the Prisma query.
Okay.
So you do it in the Prisma query.
All right. So where do I find this Prisma query?
So API, SRC, services.
Services, posts, post.ts. There we go. Okay. So in this one here.
Yeah. And so this would be when you filter within the posts. Yeah, exactly.
Approved. Cool. So default is false, which means right now we should see none. But now if I go to /posts, I'm still going to see
I want, when I was in the bathroom and you were talking about the deployment, so I want to mention is that there's a very important caveat with what I'm showing you in this tutorial, which is that there's a step we skipped, which is the authentication step. So we skipped the part where we would hide the dashboard so people can't delete your posts online. Obviously, so that's obviously not correct. And that's because I do this as an abridged version, because adding auth takes forever. In hindsight, it probably would have made a lot of sense to add clerk to this. So maybe we can do that.
Yeah. I mean, we don't necessarily have to right now.
It would be fun, though. I'd actually like to get a sense of what would happen if you try and use our clerk integration right now, obviously, because if anything breaks, you would be the person who would be a good person to relay that.
Cool. Yeah. Right now, I'm trying to figure out cannot query approved on type post.
That's because the types are different now. or you might need to update your schema.
How do I do that?
So go look at your schema in API, SRC.
API, SRC, GraphQL?
No, scroll up. Yeah.
This is up.
And then GraphQL. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And SDL, your post SDL.
So this didn't get automatically added in here?
So this gets created when you run the scaffold command. So this is why I'm saying you would want to, if you're going to, this is why the scaffolds kind of get in the way at a certain point, because if you keep changing stuff, we don't have another scaffold command to look at everything and then redo it for you. Like that's not a thing.
So can I like throw away and regenerate the GraphQL types? Is there a like command to just generate the GraphQL types based on Prisma?
I think so. I think there's a generate SDL command. So that's the one you're probably gonna want to use. Yeah.
Let's try that out. Not npx, yarn redwood generate SDL. Something like that. Just SDL. Can I just do this and it shows me the options?
And then the name of the model. Yeah, I give the name of the model after.
Okay. Oh, there we go. So SDL post.
So just delete it and then run that command and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one? That's this one.
And that'd probably be a thing that we could add, is that I could check to see if you already have one and ask you, hey, you want to wipe it and redo it. That'd probably be a nice little change.
So it wrote that file, but not the other ones. That's fine.
We'll delete all of them.
Oh, delete all of them?
Delete all of them, yeah.
Post scenario.
So you're going to want to rewrite everything. Yeah, exactly.
What is SDL again?
Schema definition language.
Schema definition language.
Yeah, it allows you to basically type your thing without having to use a ridiculous thing like TypeScript.
That's fair. And now I can go in here and I can say where published is true, or not published, approved is true. And I guess in here is where I would be using clerk or like whatever auth library to figure out if this should be true or not.
No, so we have a whole RBAC implication, and all sorts of, like, a lot of the auth stuff is kind of built in terms of deciding when things can be seen and why. Those are things that are built into the framework.
Okay. I think we definitely might need a whole another stream to do like Redwood in depth.
Yeah, we should schedule a second stream where we go through the clerk integration and look at things like RBAC and like all that kind of stuff, because that's something I don't know a whole bunch about, because I don't have a lot of production apps with users. But it's obviously super consequential. It's something we do that again no one else does. And if you jump and say, well, the epistack has auth. Do they have RBAC though? I bet they don't.
Nice.
Like they have a package installed. You were correct.
Nice, cool. So yeah, I also need to generate these components again. So I'm just going to.
Yeah. So this is kind of why those I'm not sure this is necessarily something you would want to write yourself, because we have role-based access control. So if you wanted something to be approved or not, you want someone the ability to approve it and someone the ability to see it and not see it, you'd use the RBAC implementation. You wouldn't write that yourself.
So, yeah, I don't feel like going through these and changing them, and I don't quite feel like.
It's all fine. I think this is a good place to kind of stop and I want to hear your take on Redwood. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like, first question, do you feel like your lack of GraphQL knowledge held you back from using this framework?
Not yet, for sure. Cool. My lack of Redwood generators, I guess. Yeah, no, I'll just say no to that for now.
Yeah, and technically you don't need to use any of the generators. We could have written all this code from scratch. What the generators do, they ensure that the right files are in the right places and have the right conventions generally. This is what I say about letting you just write business logic, because if all your files, you already know where they need to go, and how they connect to each other is already predetermined, and you have a tool that makes sure that is done correctly every single time, then you just end up in a situation where you're like, okay, I need to do this. I need to go to this place to write the code to do it.
Yeah, the generators definitely help there a lot. I wish more frameworks use generators. I understand why they don't.
Well, they can't because people won't accept having a project structure. People want to be able to write their projects however they want, so you can't have a CLI generate stuff that does things reliably unless going somewhere reliably does something.
File system routing, that's some structure, I guess. Right?
Just a little bit, though. Like, that's only for the file. Like, what about components? Like, what about things that don't have to do with routing, you know?
Sorry, my headphone disconnected for a second. What, can you say that again?
Well, saying that applies specifically to routing, so that ensures that when you go to a certain page and you want that page to be there, that's going to work. But it doesn't account for everything else that has to do with product structure, like where do your components go and how are they important? How do your layouts respond to the content that is nested within the layouts? How is the front end relate to the back end? Where is like all those things?
Yeah. Are the layouts used by the routing library or are they just here? So yeah, go ahead.
So the layouts allow you to have something that will wrap the pages. So if you want a nav bar or something like that, you put in the layouts, and then you just you import a layout and then wrap the page with the layout stuff at the top and bottom. So
got it.
It's the same way layouts work in most React frameworks.
Okay. So yeah, I definitely very much enjoy all the auto-generated and the fact that it comes like fully pre-built with routing, with Prisma, GraphQL, Storybook, and everything. Big fan of testing. Now, a lot of these are just personal preferences, which is like I don't like necessarily having to separate my server code from my client code. I'm kind of a fan of co-location. So again, it's just a personal preference. This is why
why?
Because code that changes together goes together in my head. So a lot of times,
but like, the code's not going to change together, though. You don't change the back end and front end code at the same time. You change the front end code once you want to do something on the front end, but the back end code does not need to be changed in tandem with the front end code unless you're trying to both prototype the front end while also prototyping your data model. In which case,
exactly,
like okay, so
that is exactly what I'm trying to do.
Okay, then like split screen between two. Like so what would you want to be able to edit? So you want to be able to edit your Prisma query at the same time as. So you wouldn't change the Prisma query because you can change the GraphQL query at the same time. You can change all the stuff. So I don't know. It's just like, what do you want to be in the same place? Why do you not just have a single file then for your entire project?
I have a single file for like the individual. Or not necessarily a single file. I do have to separate them because that's how tools work, unfortunately. I would love to.
So where do you choose to separate them, and why, and how, and what are the implications of those separations?
So I choose to separate them wherever the tool kind of dictates me. I would prefer to not.
Well, the tool doesn't dictate anything. What if the tool does not dictate anything, and you can just choose?
If that doesn't happen, then I'm a big fan of vertical slices. I was talking about that on Ryan's stream as well. This is like one of the big reasons why I'm excited about RSCs, because it means I can fetch my data, I can show my UI, and I can have actions. Like literally all three things that I need can be in the same, not just in the same file, but like literally in the same component that I can export and use.
That's what a cell is. That's literally what a cell is.
A cell, are you talking about like
that's what a cell is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the states and then it's the endpoint, but like this is directly talking to my like it's directly doing CRUD on my Prisma database, right?
It doesn't have to.
There's no server code running here.
Well, it's a query that gets sent to the server.
Yeah, and the query executes on the server. Like I cannot write code in here that runs on the server.
Right. So what you're talking about where you're writing vertical slices then. So basically the only difference is if you took what's in your services. So go to your posts in your services.
My in the API or
in the API, yes, the API, yeah.
If I can go in here, services, post, and
then services, posts, yes, go to posts. So you want to be able to copy paste this whole thing and put it in your cell.
Copy paste this whole thing, put it in my cell, and then get rid of like more than half of it. So
what if you then, crazy idea, you have both open split screen at the same time in your editor? How about that? That's a nice solution, right? And it doesn't require 3 years rewriting a framework to make it happen.
Maybe, but like I still have like the point is not that I can copy paste all of that in here. The point is that I don't need this.
No, I'm saying having two things is the same as having one giant thing and having to scroll up and down. Like, what's the difference? You can only have like so much stuff on your screen at one time. Like, it's so inconsequential.
That's fair. Like, I'm just not able to come up with like good arguments in favor of vertical.
Because you don't want to split screen two things because you prefer to scroll up than look to the right.
I split screen quite often. It's more like...
Right, so that's the same thing. You split screen when you can't see it all in one thing, and you do that in a single file anyway.
That's fair, yeah. It's...
And the fact that they're separate means that you won't accidentally change something on the server without thinking about it. Because that's the thing is, by allowing people to do that without thinking about one or the other, that's how you add bugs that mess up your server.
What do you mean?
If you always have your server code one place and you're writing something on the server, you'll always know you're writing something on the server, so that you ensure that you don't do something that you shouldn't do on the server. Or if you do something on the client that shouldn't be done on the server. Like, there's lots of things that only are supposed to be done in one place.
Yeah, and those boundaries are great to have in most scenarios, for sure. Again, like I said, it comes down to personal preference. And
it seems like it's a preference for a reason that has so many downstream consequences.
No, it's the reason that I cannot explain. That's it. Like, it's a reason that I'm having trouble explaining.
Yeah, I know you can't justify. That's why I feel confident that I'm the one who has made I feel more secure in my position that you can't justify it, and that's fine. Like, people can do things for no reason. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying you have to admit that I do this because I have no good reason.
No, I'm not saying I don't have good reason. I'm saying that it'll take a well-prepared YouTube video for me to figure out how to explain that reason. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I would say at this point then I would consider that no good reason. I would welcome seeing the video.
That's fine. Yeah, that's completely fine. But this still has a lot of exciting stuff, and I'll be playing around with it for sure, and definitely do another stream on this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see how the clerk stuff works.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll most likely just like end immediately, and maybe I might go live again like in a couple or in a few hours or so, or I might just go live tomorrow. If I don't go live again later, I'm definitely going live tomorrow. And that's my cat trying to say hello. Hi.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. I always super enjoy showing Redwood to people because I learn a lot just by people asking me, like, how do I do this thing? That's like, well, why do you want to do it? And like, okay, let's figure out how to do it. So I always super get a kick out of these. I used to do these all the time and don't as much anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I wish more people would at least try Redwood. Everyone gets the pitch for Redwood and then decides they don't like it before they even use it, which I think is unfortunate.
That's fair, yeah. Cool. Now, if I end up deciding that I don't like it, it'll be after I've used it. It's hard to make opinions.
You might decide that it's not suitable for the types of thing you're currently building, and that's fine. It's only good for certain things anyway. It might not be the type of thing you're building, but most people assume it's not going to be good for the type of thing they're building for reasons that don't, I think, necessarily hold together.
Honestly, it's probably a great thing for me to use for my projects. It's just that my personal preferences are getting in the way.
Yeah, and someone's asking what's not suitable. I would say Redwood's not suitable for someone that doesn't have a database. If you're building something that can just be static content, then don't use Redwood. I would say if you don't need like a whole client-side library, maybe you're building an API, and you could use Redwood just as an API, and that's fine, but kind of weird. And yeah, I'd say if you're building anything that's not a full stack app with the database.
Actually, this reminded me of my another question that I was going to ask. You're talking about the history of Redwood. There was also a part in there about the startup fund. I want to hear more about that. Whatever you know about. Yeah, the startup fund and whatever when I look at go to Redwood docs and see whatever stories, it seems like obviously beyond Redwood being a framework, a React framework, it's also a thing that helps startup. Yeah.
So something I like to say is people ask me, who created Redwood or who maintains Redwood or something like that. And I say it's the passion project of an eccentric billionaire.
Yeah, I remember that.
Literally what it is. Yeah. And so Tom is independently wealthy, and he chooses to give small investments in companies that build with Redwood. So both incentivizes companies to use Redwood, so yeah, fat stack of cash, pretty much guaranteed, and it guarantees that Redwood will have users of their framework, and we'll be building real things with it, not like toys, but actual production apps. And yeah, so it's been really great, and there's this landing page site for it that's really nice and lists a bunch of the companies that are doing it. You'll see Everfund, which is my co-host on the FSJam podcast, Christopher Burns. And so, yeah, and he also specifically invests in climate-focused companies as well. And he also funds actual developers on the team. So there's like a whole bunch of ways in which Tom is supporting not only with his time and ideas, but with his actual putting his money where his mouth is. And so, like, these are, again, more good reasons to use the framework that no other framework is. You're like, hey, use our framework, we'll give you $50,000. You're giving a company $50,000. Like, where else can you do that? Nowhere.
Honestly, like, again, this is like one of the bigger reasons why I'm like, why am I not using Redwood for my projects? Specifically the one that I want money for.
Because GraphQL is too complicated.
Yeah. I don't know if that was the reason.
That's the reason you gave me when I was like saying something about Redwood. You're like, yeah, but the GraphQL abstraction.
Yeah,
but
like,
then you haven't even used this. Shut up, Dev.
Yeah, but then you proved me wrong. So, or not prove you immediately told me that I'm wrong. This is why we're friends,
because you're open-minded and you're actually able to be convinced that there's things you don't know about the world.
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't say.
It's a great.
Are there people who think they know everything about the world?
Most people think they know everything about the world.
Really?
It's very rare I meet people who think there's things they don't know. Damn. Very rare.
There's more things that I don't know than things that I do know.
Well, that's the thing, is once you realize how many things there are to know, you realize it's impossible for you to ever have there be more things you know than don't know.
Very much. Like, it's simply impossible to just read through Wikipedia and learn everything. Like, and that's still just a subset.
I Wikipedia choose your own adventure for like hours. There's like guys rabbit holes. I'll just read like the history of the French Revolution and stuff. It's like crisscross through all these different biographies and people. And it's just like, history is so vast.
That's why your hot takes don't get viral on Twitter. That's fine.
Why? What's he saying? Why? Oh, because you don't think, because you have an open mind. Don't insist you're always right all the time.
That's fine.
Well, people like strong, declarative, confident statements. Makes sense.
Yeah, like SwellKit is bleeding edge. I mean, you won't find me saying things like Swell. Also, like, I do say things like
bleeding edge, though, is not a value judgment. Something's not good or bad based on whether it's bleeding edge.
Yeah, that's
like, it just means it's new. Like, okay, is it good or bad? I don't care if it's new. Like,
also, I do.
To the sense,
I do sometimes get viral. Stable. Like, my tweet about SQL being the worst database was
your tweet of solid remix smacking solid went viral. That was my tweet. It was shared meme.
Yeah, and the one that you posted, the one Redwood and what was it, Bedrock. I need to make sure I don't bring that one up again, because the creator of Bedrock is an investor in Clerk, so I should try to say good things about it. Bedrock is cool, but Redwood is also cool.
Yeah, Redwood is cool. I'm glad you think so.
Cool. That's all I have for now. Thank you very much, Anthony. And we'll do this soon. We should do this more often. And I'll figure out StreamYard.
Hey, no, it's fine. Like, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. I have access to StreamYard. Like, I asked Jen for StreamYard like a month ago. She sent me an invite, but then I never ended up using it because the Elixir Phoenix stream that I decided to do got canceled, or I canceled it because I wasn't feeling like it. I accepted that invite that like 10 minutes before the stream. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna use StreamYard for the stream, and then I just autopiloted into OBS and started the stream.
That's funny.
Full autopilot.
Just fear, yeah. It's like, I know once you get into a routine, it's very easy to do. Yeah, actually, I think my yearly subscription like just renewed, so you can always hop on mine if you ever need to.
Yeah, will do. Thanks.
For sure.
All right. Thank you very much. See you soon.
We'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time. That was cool. Svelte came out right after Vue, so not really new unless you consider Vue new. Yeah, I don't consider either of them new. I think he was talking mostly about Svelte Kit and Solid Start, like specifically the full stack frameworks. Let me start this. Yeah, Svelte Kit came out. Svelte Kit came out a while ago. It went stable like 5-6 months ago. When did Svelte Kit go stable? Sometime last year, before Christmas. What else? Solid Start is still in beta, but it's very stable. Really, the only reason it's still in beta is because like they focused on the Astro migration more than like making everything stable. So that was a big reason. It's definitely going to be very stable. December 14, yeah. So 7 months ago. 7, about 8 months ago, whatever. Is the Astro migration and Solid Start done yet? Great question. It's available as like a beta, alpha something. It's available as some tag on the npm if you want to experiment with it, but it's done as in like, yeah, there's like a relatively stable version sitting there, but like need to do a lot of there needs to be more testing to see like exactly how stable it is and if all the features are there and whatever bugs that might be caused are there. And the Astro migration like got rid of like half of the code in Solid Start, maybe more than half, but like, yeah, it definitely helped a lot. I'm involved, as in like I'm in a Discord channel with the people working on Solid Start, so I get like some regular updates, and I'm going to make more content on Solid Start. I say that all the time. I literally like need to get my shit together and start making videos. I don't know, DevRel has been stressful. Who would have expected, right? A brand new job to be stressful, and what was I thinking? What's stressful about it? I mean, mostly just the fact that I'm new, and like it takes a lot of learning to figure out what to do and how to do and when to do. And also I'm in a startup, so there's yeah. Any first impressions on it, Dev? Seems cool to be to see Astro being used for a meta framework. Yeah, I mean, if you go back to like Theo 7-8 months ago, he called it that this is how Astro is going to be used. It's going to replace Vite, and that's exactly what Ryan did. Replaced Vite with Astro. It's they're using a lot of like the internals and build process of Astro, so that they don't have to maintain it themselves. And things like plugging in with cloud providers with different deployment strategies. Those are things that now Astro takes care of instead of the Solid team having to worry about it. Make sure not to be afraid to ask a lot of questions. Will other people do it though, or just Solid? Theo isn't right until everyone does it. Depends. Svelte Kit is really stable where they are. If anything, I see Svelte Kit moving to Turbo Pack than I do moving to Vite or moving to Astro. So not sure about that. Next is not going to do that. They're going to stick to Turbo Pack. Next is, I believe, like the Nuxt community is pretty proud of Nitro and everything that they have. So they're probably not going to do it. And I guess this building a meta framework is hard, so we might not see a lot of like random people building meta frameworks on top of Astro, but that might become a trend. Depends on if building a framework on top of Astro gets any easier at any certain point. My argument is most people will still keep building on Vite, and I think that's still the case based on all those frameworks you just mentioned. Next, making Turbo Pack instead of just using Vite was the worst decision Vercel could have made. not really in a position to say anything about that, really. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure they considered it. Most people will still keep building on wheat. Probably. I mean, Astro is built on top of wheat, so do you count stuff being built on top of Astro as being built on top of wheat? I think like if you're building something like Solid Start, building on top of Astro is going to be easier than building on top of wheat. Again, because they still do a lot of stuff on top of wheat that you don't want to do if you're building a framework. Now, is building a framework like that possible without a direct line to Astro core? That's really the main question, I think, here. Is that wheat is intended to be used as something you build on top of, like you build frameworks on top of it. Astro is not intended to be used like that. So there isn't documentation on how to use it like that. Really what you need is a very good understanding of how Astro works and a direct line to the core team or the people who work directly on Astro so that you can do it. Wheat is already fast. I don't see an advantage of TurboPack other than we're still just wanting more IP. Fair. I mean, yeah, the benchmarks were not great, but I think like TurboPack is still fast. It might be faster than wheat at some point. And like really the thing about TurboPack is not just that it's fast, but it has a much higher ceiling because of its caching mechanism. Like the point of TurboPack is not just that it's fast and we want more IP. It's that this is a new way to bundle apps by caching literally everything that they can and only rerunning things when needed. Like they're basically extending their philosophy about caching that they employ in like Nextjs and putting that in the bundling space. I think there's a higher ceiling with TurboPack because it can connect with like Turbo Repo. It can do like remote build caches and things like that. And there's a lot of tricks that can be done with something like TurboPack. Next is way more invested into Rust and Webpack. I don't see wheat happening. Exactly. Next is very much invested into Rust. Even like Turbo repos is being rewritten with Rust at this point. So they really want the Rust toolchain to happen. You're still using wheat if you use Astro, but the question, why didn't you just use wheat? And I think most would just use wheat. Yeah, that's fine. Most would just use wheat. I agree with that because wheat has documentation in that sense. Doing it on top of Astro, not so much. Ryan and Tanner can do it because they understand Astro and they have direct lines. But it'll be hard for like anyone. Like it'll be hard for some random person to build a framework on top of Astro. RSC support in wheat is not looking too smooth, as expected. All right, that's really it. I'm gonna end and maybe go live again in a few hours or maybe just tomorrow. Stay tuned to my Twitter and Jacob Space. Yeah, that's happening in like an hour, I guess. So let's see who we can raid. Who do you guys want me? Who should we raid? Oh, Tej is live. Let's do Tej. /raid Tej_dv. Raid has been created. There we go. Let's go say hi to Tej. You're thinking it's more complicated than it is. They just use request response, no deep integration. You mean the Astro Solid Start stuff? I mean, it's more than just a request response. It's bundling things and like outputting them as serverless functions that can be deployed to like 5 different cloud providers. Like that's one of the many things that Astro does out of the box, that if you're not using Astro, if you're building on top of wheat, you have to do it yourself. Like Vite doesn't know that what deployments to Vercel look like or what deployments to Netlify look like. You still have to create those adapters. But you don't with Astro because Astro has those adapters. So your abstraction layer is Astro instead of Vite, which is a much higher abstraction layer for like full stack apps. Cool. So see you guys soon. Bye.